I want the color scheme to be green, not purple. Use a forest for all color. So I'll send that to the coding agent and we can see what's going on here. Here in the dev environment, you can see that our buttons that were purple are now green. But in our production environment, they're still purple. And then once everything looks good, you can say, yep, these changes were solid. So I'm going to publish to production. Okay, so you can see that the deployment is live. And I actually already refreshed the page. So you can see this is the live version. And everything is green now. And in our Defang portal, you can see because we are deploying with Defang, we actually have this latest deployment in here. So you can see all of the resources that were deployed. Hey folks, Raph here from Defang, and today I'm going to talk to you about something pretty cool that we've been cooking up recently. We actually did a talk about this at the TypeScript AI conference hosted by our friends over at Mastra a few weeks ago. Basically, it's a concept we've been thinking about, which takes our expertise in deploying apps to the cloud and tries to figure out how that fits in with the world of AI coding agents. And essentially, we came up with this idea for a sample that embeds a coding agent into the production deployment. Essentially, imagine it this way. You have a bit of software that you come up with, let's say a platform for accountants, and you land your first big enterprise client, and they tell you, we don't let our numbers leave our cloud accounts. And we run on, I don't know, GCP or Azure. So now you have to ship that into their account. So Defang's a great fit for that. But we were thinking, what's the next step? Like if we're imagining what the world looks like 10 years from now with coding agents, how can we take our deployment expertise and fit it into the stuff that these coding agents do? And so we figured part of that deployment, you ship this software into this company's cloud account, and with it, you can include a coding agent that you've customized to your software. So you can say maybe there's these boundaries within the code base that the agent is allowed to touch. There's other things that it's not allowed to. And so you get a coding agent deployed with your software. And the thing that's cool about that is that imagine that this accounting company says, well, we do things a little bit differently. Our workflows are a little bit different than you might expect at other accounting companies. The team who's using it has feedback. And the prototype essentially shows you how you could architect a system where that accounting team can say, well, because our workflows are a little different, it would be really nice if we had this data surfaced earlier in the process or on this other screen. And actually, we need this button to be more visible. We need, I don't know, stuff like that. And it could provide this feedback and it goes into a database. And that database is then accessible to the coding agent. So it can read feedback. The ops team at this company has access to the deployment. Now they have a panel where they can see everything that the accounting team is submitting as feedback. They're like, well, okay, accounting isn't super happy with the software, but the team who wrote it included this handy dandy coding agent that can make some changes. And so that person then says, okay, let's aggregate all of this feedback and let's just let the coding agent make those changes. And so it does. And the coding agent has access to whatever files you want it to have access to. And it can make those changes and validate that they're good changes. You can imagine Defang bundled in this coding agent service could run a full deployment to a preview environment. The agent could validate that the preview environment looks good, and then the admin can trigger a deployment with all of those changes bundled with the whole Git history. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. You can see I just ran this deployment. So I went into apps and samples, self-improving Mastra to do. You can hit deploy, put admin token is just like a password to log in. This is the secret used by Betteroff, then a Postgres password. You can see I already have that one. We can create a production stack, go with affordable, choose where you want to deploy. I did GCP, and then you'll go through the rest of this process, confirm, and get it deployed. So that's how I ended up with this self-improving project with this production stack. So you can see the architecture. So we've got an application. So this is like the production version of the app. A database that the app uses also includes the feedback table. And then this dev environment, we called it dev because it's where like the coding agent is basically doing dev work in there. And that talks to Light LLM, which proxies to the managed inference on the cloud you deployed to. In this case, GCP Vertex. But if you deploy to AWS, it'll be talking to Bedrock and so on and so forth. So let's actually check it out. I'm going to start by going to this dev environment first, because the first user to sign in gets assigned as the admin. Admin at example.com. So you can see this is actually a Next.js app running in dev mode. Because it's the first person to log in, it'll be assigned as the admin. So I can click on this little admin button, and you can see this UI. I can also go in and open the app, which is the production version of this thing. So here, I'll go in and create an account, and I'll call myself user at example.com. Okay, so here I am. I've got this admin console, and I've got the production version where I'm logged in as a user. So as a user, I'll say, this is very cool. I'll keep track of everything I need to do. But maybe I don't like this format. I think that this button, the whole color scheme should be green instead of purple. I'll say, I want the color scheme to be green, not purple. So as an admin, I log into this admin panel, and if I refresh, I can see there's some feedback from my users. So I'll say, I want to select this, use a forest green for all blur. So I'll send that to the coding agent, and we can see what's going on here. So to be very transparent, right now this is running with a small model. So I adapted my instructions here to say, make sure every single button or text that is currently purple is changed to a green color scheme. Now you can see that it actually made some more significant changes. It actually edited files. So you can kind of get a sense of what happened here. And here in the dev environment, you can see that our buttons that were purple are now green. But in our production environment, they're still purple. The workflow we're imagining is you have a nice, easy preview environment where you can check things out as like the ops team who runs these deployments for your company. And then once everything looks good, you can say, yep, these changes were solid, so I'm going to publish to production. And the way that that works is you'll get a handy dandy Defang login button. So here I will log in with this account, and eventually you'll see that it's properly logged in, and you can say deploy and overwrite. That runs the deployment. You can see the logs starting, and this is going to take a while. So I'll pause and I'll come back in a little bit. Okay, you can see that the deployment is live. And I actually already refreshed the page, so you can see this is the live version, and everything is green now. And in our Defang portal, you can see, because we are deploying with Defang, we actually have this latest deployment in here. So you can see all of the resources that were deployed, and it is all up and running. So we think this is super cool. Of course, you can see there's still some things to iron out, and the agent that we wrote is just it's a demo, it's a starting point. But it's a thing that we're looking much deeper into. The way that I personally see this, I think there's a really cool future where we as developers take our expertise in sort of developing the infrastructure, not in terms of like servers, but like the structures that are required for an app that operates in a particular domain. So if we take the accounting example, it might be understanding how transactions are recorded, reconciliation, all of these things, and then making sure that those are really tightly guarded such that the agent can't change them or can make limited changes. And maybe it's more front-end changes, so it's about how those things are displayed to the end users. Maybe there's some limited changes that can happen in the database. I think there's a lot of really interesting possibilities. So explore the sample, try it out. You should be able to use different models on different clouds. You can upgrade the models to something more powerful. But I think there's a really interesting future here, and I'm really excited to keep digging into it. So check it out. Let me know what you build. I'd love to see what you come up with. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.